Hi everyone, it's Denise Reed and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Bramble Reed. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at some reviews on some of the DIY projects that I've done. Specifically this week, we're going to start off with the salt dough bead, and I want to show you some of the do's and the don'ts of creating the salt dough beads and how it stand up to the test of time. For the best creative DIY and fashion content, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I post a video every Tuesday. I have a Facebook page that is dedicated to DIY crafts, fashion, and home repair that you are able to join. Now it's your turn. So with the salt dough beads, it is actually a really phenomenal thing to make, especially if you want to make beads. One of the things that I think is great about it is that you do get to make whatever size bead you want. It's inexpensive and you have the beautiful look of the beads. You don't have to add any paint or anything to it. Once you make this, they will go stark white when you put them in the oven. Now the only drawback on salt dough beads is, there was that wet colored paper and it bled on there and you can't see it, but there's a flat part, so when it wet, I wiped it and some of the dough of course came off. The other thing with the salt dough beads, although they're thick, you have to be careful. This crack, if you can see it, this crack is okay because it's only kind of a surface crack, but if you get those cracks where it starts from here, the bead will eventually crack if you bang it up. So we lost 2 beads from this end, and my daughter is the one that uses this one. She calls it her snake, so she likes this. The other thing that broke off was the B initial. I'm not sure, I don't remember actually if it was out of the clay or out of the salt dough. But if you put or try and create initial, make sure that it's at least a 1/2 inch thick. So the other clay one broke. This is the only one that didn't break. So make sure if you're going to do your initials, especially do it out of clay, not out of salt dough, and then make it thick because the salt dough would crack. And then also this tassel I made, this tassel portion is out of the clay, not out of the salt dough. But as a project, I think these are excellent beads. Now the other beads that I made were these ones. These ones are out of salt dough, but what I did was I created 2 types of salt dough. I created the white flour salt dough, and then I also created the corn flour salt dough, and I mixed the 2 of them together with different colors, and this I added acrylic paint into some of them. You know when you're rolling your dough and you get stuff on your hand, I actually rubbed my hands, and then those little bits that fell off, I mixed it into part of the dough, and that's the effect that it got. And these are really beautiful also, very nice. They're smaller, so I haven't had any break. What I like about the salt dough out of the corn flour is that you get different textures. Like, you hear that? It's not smooth like this one. So you have different textures that you're going to have. Now I'm going to link how to make your own salt dough. You can check out the video here and I'll link it in the description box. But this one here is really nice. Now the other one that I made was exactly the same. I added a little bit more texture to some of the salt doughs, especially the ones that had the corn flour in it. And if you can see, the corn flour one has kind of like a white haze, like if you did a whitewash on it, whereas the other ones, they do not. They just look stark white, but these ones have a different effect on them. And then the other thing that was good was that the thicker beads that I made, they lasted. And so next week we're going to look at some of the different clay ones. Comment down below if you followed the first video and have created your own salt dough beads. Now the last salt dough bead that this was the one that I really liked. I enjoyed this one. I think it was absolutely fabulous. And the reason why I liked it was because I just added a little bit more uniqueness to it. So I added the corn flour salt dough and the regular salt dough. When you mix corn flour salt dough with the regular salt dough, can you see that there's a little bit of discoloration here? So you have the white and then you have different discoloration. That's what happens when the 2 of those salt doughs mix together, or at least for myself. Now the thing that's unique about this specific bead is that I actually mixed clay with it. And this is homemade clay that I made, but this clay was the one that I really enjoyed. But this one here, the clay was in storage. I made it and put it away for 3 to 6 months, and then I started using it, and the clay was just beautiful. So I went and I took some bits of the clay and I mixed it in with some of the salt dough. These beads, none of them broke. And I'm sure it didn't break because first and foremost how thick they were. And this one was the last one that I made, so I kind of understood a little bit more tips and tricks. When you're doing this, if for the review, I would not make thin ones. If you want to make a thin one like this, that's fine, but make it thick, meaning make it rounder. So it's not a small round one, but it's a thick round one, because you see all of them are thick. So try and do that. Also, what I like about the salt dough is that sometimes you get these little imperfection cracks. Now watch out for those. You want surface cracks. You do not want cracks that go all the way through. Now that you know the do's and don'ts of creating a salt dough bead, I have written a 9-page guide on different designing platforms that will help you take the creative juices out of your head and put them on a digital platform. I've also included a list of tutorials that will help you guys understand these platforms better. Download the guide at the link in the description box. Also, are you interested in joining a group of creative minds like yourself where we'll be uploading different DIY posts and home renovations? I do have my Facebook page and you can check the link out in the description box. Check out these videos next on how to distress denim jeans, and also my other video on camouflage pattern painting, and my upcoming video which will be a review on the chalk paint. Now if you like this video, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe and share the video with your family and friends.